Okay, perfect.
Hell
Great.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Amazing. A bit quiet. Hold on. I'll give you... We'll see if we can
Oh,
boost
maybe
it
I
up
just
at
have to
all.
mute my mic.
Just put it in your mouth.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay, great. Welcome. What's your name?
Akim.
Akim.
Very nice to meet you.
I'm Knight.
Yeah,
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So, what is your role?
So my official title is the Associate Director of Cinematic Design, which is a mouthful. For
Yeah,
sure.
amazing.
Yeah.
Also, quite an important title.
I mean, it's cool to be part of the story team for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. So, how long have you been working on Assassin's Creed Shadows?
Oh my God, it's been about 4 years now since I've been on
Wow.
the AC Shadows team. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
Oh
while
my
since
goodness.
like basically like pre-production. Yeah.
Oh, incredible, incredible. And everyone's been so excited that this is set in Japan.
Yeah.
Did you have any kind of like, were there any like big struggles to overcome with Japan and like making sure that it's all authentic or?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, with every setting, our goal is always to try to represent the setting as accurately as possible. I was like privileged enough to go to Japan as part of the research team. Yeah,
amazing.
and it was like when we were there, it was to try to pick up as many details as we could, ask as many questions as we could. Like an example, actually, when we got there, we realized like all the buildings and trees and like lanterns, for example, are way bigger than we had them in the game. So when we came back, that was like the first thing. Like we have to scale everything up because when we're there, you're just floored by how tall the castles and textures
Yeah.
are. It's incredible. So, and the forests as well. You know, so there's a lot of little things that you pick up while you're there, and you're like, this needs to be in the game. We need to be
Yeah.
like authentic to as much as we can be. You know.
Oh, amazing. That must have been incredible to go.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. Like I said, I feel very privileged to have been able to go. And I mean, like, it's the little details I think are the really fun part about a trip like that.
Yeah.
Seeing the leaves up close. The funniest thing is I was going with people like texture artists, and so anywhere we went, they had to pull out their HD camera, get right up close, and like take 40 pictures of like a leaf, for example, or like
Yeah.
a specific stone and the way it cracks. You know. But yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible, and it just, I think to me also the big takeaway, and I think this is something we tried to capture well, is the way they build around nature in Japan. So there's always this like
Yeah.
feeling of it being integrated into the way they construct things, and we really took that to heart as well. Yeah.
100%. And you can tell in the game, like playing, it just feels so beautiful. And it's just like a real harmony between all of the noises, everything you're hearing, everything you're seeing. It just feels beautiful and very immersive.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
It's really, really cool. So what was the toughest part of the project?
So I can speak to, I guess for me, my
Yeah.
team, the cutscenes team, if you'll indulge me.
Of course.
One of the
please.
things in AC, so traditionally there's this like giant library of animations we have. Over the years, like all the different AC games have their animations, and we can pull from them. But as many AC fans might know, a lot of the previous settings, their animations wouldn't quite work for the setting we're going for. So initially, early in production, you know, having Naoe and Yasuke do like very Greek poses from Odyssey doesn't really work. Have big Viking
Yeah.
gestures doesn't work at all. So one of the first obstacles was really to try to figure out a way to create more authentic animations for the time period. So we did a ton of research on that and did a lot of mocap on that. But what we realized is after I started watching a lot of older Japanese films and the way they would portray their characters is there's this element of stoicism as well. So even though we had all these animations, we realized sometimes less is more. And so that's one of the major changes we made to our cutscenes. That was a huge obstacle to move away from this idea of constantly moving.
Yeah.
And more so, for me, it was really important to focus on eye lines. Because in the Japanese hierarchy, especially during feudal Japan, during the Sengoku period, the eye contact means everything. And actually, the lack of eye contact can mean a lot, right? So for me, that was like a huge obstacle because that's a very different philosophy than the previous ACs. And hopefully that comes through. You got a chance to play a bit of the prologue, right?
Yes.
And so I think you can see a lot of that there, not spoiling too much for chat, but that was a huge emphasis we placed. When you are meeting people of great importance, there's a specific way you have to comport yourself, and that's definitely what, I think that was a huge obstacle because it's a very
Yeah.
different philosophy, but hopefully it panned out.
Yeah, amazing. We've got a question from the chat, which is, what makes this Assassin's Creed stand out from the previous?
I think there's a couple things. For me, it's we have this like really big emphasis on points of view, right? Like we are talking about a game about unification, but we have these two characters who are both outsiders, right? Like Naoe has never really seen a big city before.
Yeah.
Yasuke obviously isn't even from this country. And so to me, what makes it feel really different is we're learning the environment with them. They're not a master of their environment at all, you know what I mean? And to have them both not only be outsiders but both working towards the same goal, I think gives a two very unique perspectives on the world. But it makes sense. I think when you play it, it starts to make sense why these two come together. And to me, that's like the major difference. It's just the points of view we have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell, like, in terms of, like, the actual gameplay, where you're discovering things for the first time, and we were just talking about this previously, that it does feel like you're learning with the character where you're going and things, and I love, like, the scouting and stuff. It's so, so, so cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's exactly what I mean, right? Like, one of the conversations we had early on is this time period historically, they talk a lot about like the war for information. That's like a big thing. Think of it as like the Cold War for feudal Japan, basically. And so when we kind of reinvented exploration and started talking about scouts, that was kind of part of it. It was like, well, these two people are just two people in this gigantic world. Like, how are they going to possibly keep track of everything? And you as a player, same thing. How are you going to keep track of everything? And we thought, well, let's make that war for information inherently part of the systems of the game, you know?
Love that. And now I've got a personal question of something I would love to know from you is on your first playthrough, if you were a new player, knowing what you know, would you go for Yasuke, Naoe, or would you be, like, would you do a full playthrough, or would you switch between?
So I'll tell you exactly. Like, so for me, I think when you finish the prologue, you feel this deep-seated desire to play as Naoe, right? And you're going to play as Naoe for a while. And when you eventually meet Yasuke and the two of them join up, I think the reverse happens, where now you're curious about this character, because the way our story unfolds is rather non-linear. And I think, to me, the way I enjoy playing the game is switching between the two on the fly based on their circumstance. Because, okay, so another thing that I think separates it, to go back to the other chat question, you know, in previous AC games, we give you a lot of tools to control the world around you. You know what I mean? Like, you can change the time of day, you can choose when you want to attack, let's say, right? But in our game, the world exists, and you have to adapt to the world. Not to say the world doesn't respond to you, but we force you to adapt to the world. And so in that way, if I get a quest and they're like, it's going to be at nighttime, there's going to be archers on the roof, well, now it seems like the play. You know what I mean?
100%.
Story-wise, though, to answer your question, I think there's enough mystery for both characters that to get a truly complete experience, you gotta play both. And that's how I felt. I felt compelled to finish both of their stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I actually started playing as Yasuke instead of Naoe. Just purely because, like, my playstyle tends to be more, you know, I just run full force into things. I'm not great at being stealthy and stuff. But I want to learn more about her story, and it feels like, I mean, watching the story trailer before, I literally had like goosebumps, and I was just like, I'm so excited to play both sides of it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think to me, it's like that. We have there's like the story hook to want to see both of their stories, but then there's that gameplay aspect too. And I think what you're describing is many people I know feel the exact same way. Especially if you're coming as a fan of Valhalla, you have that innate sense of like wanting to just bonk things, right? And Yasuke is a bonker. Like, he will do damage. I find also, in last week we had other game previews as well, right? And it was very fun watching people play the game, try and encounter as Naoe, get absolutely destroyed, and then go, maybe this is a Yasuke mission, you know what I mean? So, yeah, for sure.
So we got a question about how big the map is going to be and whether it's going to be as big as Valhalla.
So I think Joe answered this question. It's about as big as Origins, and I think I'm sure you've already opened the map and let chat take a look at it, and I think that's kind of what we were going for. But I would say the big change is what I was saying before is after going to Japan, it's the verticality. It's the sheer kind of just like colossal mass of how vertical a lot of these places are. You go to Japan and you can never get away from these mountains, right? And the mountains leave this gigantic footprint. So I think it's the verticality that really feels different in the world, the density of it as well.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so excited. And like, just every single, like, my innate desire is to just go explore as much as I can. Every single question mark, I'm just like, I want to find out what it is, why it's there. I just want to learn more about it, which I am so, so excited for. If you could describe this game in 3 words, what would you go for?
Oh my god, 3 words.
It's like summing down like such a massive game, just
Yeah, oh
boiling
my
it
God.
down into
Well, okay.
three
Let me
words.
think of the themes that really resonate with me. I'll go with that approach. So I'd say um, I think family has to be one. I know that's probably a really strange answer to hear, but to me, family is definitely got to be one of those words. Family,
That's a great one. That's a really good
honor,
one.
duty, I think are the three ways I like to think about
Ooh,
it.
I like
And
that.
the family aspect, once again, not spoiling it for chat, but there's definitely some hooks in the prologue for that. But I think when you start to build up around, oh, sorry.
No
I think
worries. I'll turn it towards me.
yeah, so I think like from the family point of view, will become a lot clearer in both the story aspect as well as a gameplay aspect. And I don't want to talk about that too much, but we've talked about the hideout a little bit. We've teased a little bit of that. I think there's some gameplay that's gone public now, and to us, that's really like a place for you to rest your hat and interact with the people you've kind of recruited. And I think found family is one of the major themes we discovered in this
Yeah.
game. So to me, that's what really resonates. Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea of like family and stuff like that's so interesting, and it tells you more about like the stories behind it. Are you more of like a story based gamer, more of a action focus on the gameplay collector? Like what's your gameplay style?
I would say I'm definitely story oriented. Most of my background before video games was cinema, so movies, advertisements. So
Nice.
like I have that innate desire to try to make things as cinematic as possible always. So a good story will hook me. But I think for me, I really like compelling, challenging gameplay. Like the Souls series are some of my favorite games. I have my Bloodborne tattoo right here.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Um,
so cool.
yeah, yeah. So
I'm terrible at Dark Souls games. I just die over and over again,
Well,
and
I
I'm just
think-
like,
it's one of those things where I think everyone's bad at Dark Souls at first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I think to me definitely story first, and then I like a good challenge with a lot of like depth. If there's the ability for player expression, I'm all in. Whether it's movement oriented or combat oriented, I love the ability to have a high skill ceiling, and I think that's something we try to capture in this game for sure. Adding as much player expression as possible. For example, have you tried our? We've kind of brought back manual jump. I don't know if you've figured that out.
yeah.
So that's something that was like really big for us to create like a higher skill ceiling. Like in previous games, it was kind of not like simplified per se, but there was definitely a different approach to parkour. And for us, we were like, well, we want it to be challenging in a way that just holding down a couple buttons isn't going to do it for us. And I think that manual jump is a big part of it. So yeah, it makes things challenging, but I think that's the fun of it, right? That's the fun
Yeah.
of video games. Yeah.
In terms of like challenging and stuff, I'd love to touch on accessibility
Yeah.
and what you guys have implemented in terms of that to help with that.
Yeah, so there's a couple. I can specifically speak to a lot of the cutscene accessibility features.
Yeah.
Some of the more gameplay stuff, so you'll have to grab someone else.
Yeah, of
else.
course.
But on the cutscene side, we're actually really proud of this one new feature for us, which is there's a tone description that you can turn on. So during cutscenes, you'll actually get in bracket the tone of what's being said.
Ooh,
So for
okay,
people
that's
that might
good.
have a harder time understanding expressions,
Yeah.
facial features, especially in a game that is at times can be very stoic or layered in the way they're expressing things, that's something that I think is really, really cool. To kind of like give that maybe make that subtext a little more obvious for those that have a harder time with it.
Yeah.
Another thing that I don't think was available in the previous games is we actually have a setting where the speaker, there'll be an arrow pointing to the speaker. So if you have a hard time remembering names, it's going to be a lot of foreign names coming at you really, really fast. There'll be an arrow telling you who the speaker is, even if they're off screen. So those are some of the cool features that I think are really neat. On the gameplay side, we have a lot of like things to help visually impaired people, for indicators, things like that, as well as like things to visually indicate sound. But I think those were in the previous AC games as well. So from an accessibility side, I think the thing I think is the coolest is definitely the emotional descriptors.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I haven't seen that in anything really.
Yeah, I forget whose idea it was. I know our UI director, Joe Bedal, who I want to shout out. He's an excellent guy, great human being. His first and foremost, he's all about accessibility, and I think this is something that he felt very strongly about, giving players the most options as possible. And I think cutscenes are something that are often overlooked when it comes to accessibility, right? People think gameplay first, but like I said, I'm a story guy. I'm on the story team.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's a big part of it. It would be a real shame for people to miss out on some of the subtext, some of the context there. So yeah.
No, that's brilliant. And also, I feel like Ubisoft just is kind of leading the way in terms of accessibility, which I just love to see, because you just see a lot of games that just don't even kind of approach that subject. and it's fantastic to see like just the opposite side of the spectrum, where it's like it really is making sure that as many people as possible can enjoy the games.
Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you so much for saying that. It's something we take very seriously, and we work with a lot of our creators specifically who care about accessibility, come in and they give us a lot of really helpful feedback, and especially like some of our blind gamers give us some great feedback on how to increase the auditory cues and things like that. So it's something we take very seriously, and I'm glad you noticed. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It's always amazing. I work with some charities like RNIB and stuff to kind of experience what it's like to have those vision issues and stuff. And I've got a lot of friends with accessibility issues. So I always notice it now. I always go, it's like the first thing I do is I go to the settings, take a look at accessibility, and sometimes it'll just be like captions on or off. And you're like, that just really doesn't cut it for a lot of people. So it's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you probably noticed today, like on first launch, many narrations, like the first thing that pops up, right? So no, cool. Thank you so much for noticing. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. We also had a question about Easter eggs. Are there any Easter eggs in the game?
Oh, there are a ton of Easter eggs in this game. I think, with Assassin's Creed, typically with open world games, it's a good deal of fun for us as devs to try to toss things in here and there. I don't want to spoil any of them.
Yeah.
I will say I'll say one thing. There's a fun one in the hideout. So on March 20th, go check out the hideout, explore the hideout, and there's a fun one that I think is very cheeky. So have fun finding that one. It'll be my friend Nick will take great pleasure in knowing that people will find their little Easter egg there. But yeah, there's a ton.
I can't imagine like the excitement of like seeing the players' reactions after you've been working on a game for 4 years. You know how good it is. You know that these Easter eggs are in there, and you just get to just sit and watch all the reactions.
Oh yeah. Okay. So earlier today, when we showed off the story trailer, I was watching all your faces.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that trailer so many times. I was waiting for all those reactions last week as well. I mean, this is like a dream come true for me, right? Like, when you're developing, you're in what seems to be isolation for years, and you can't talk about it at all. You can't share with anyone, really. And now all these things we're so proud of. We get to see these live reactions. It just means the world to us. And, I was at Gamescom last year as well. I got to show off the game there. And what I said there, and I'll say it again here, is we feel the love from the fans so much, and it's finally time for us to be able to like give that back, and to have these one-on-one reactions with content creators and people playing the game. I mean, that means the world to us. It really does. It really does.
Oh, amazing! Well, it's been so great to have you on here. So thank you so much. I really appreciate
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks, chat. Really appreciate the feedback we're getting from you guys too. I hope you're all enjoying the stream. Drop your Twitch primes right now. And,
it's not out yet. It's out on March 20th.
Yes, March 20th. March 20th.
Yeah.
Thanks, chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your play session.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much. And I saw you guys asking a question about whether or not we can pop this onto YouTube, and we absolutely can. I can go on here afterwards and clip this and pop it onto YouTube, so absolutely. And also, amazing, thank you to Akim, he was amazing. What a fantastic dev, so exciting. Little impromptu Q&A there. Hope